needing to find a new apartment, which has not been easy with credit as bad as mine. Luckily, I found cosigning.com. They connected me with a cosigner who helped me get my dream apartment for me and my dog. I just paid a small fee and was able to move in fast. Get the cosigner you need for the apartment you want. Check out cosigning.com today.
I want to preface this video by saying that there's something that I resent that Trump said. Trump said Europe is going to hell. I resent that because Europe's already in hell. I don't know if any of you have ever lived in Europe. Any of the people that are watching this are currently in Europe. I lived in Germany. I lived in France. I lived in Amsterdam. The European Union is gone. The World Economic Forum has taken over. This is a worldwide takeover for a one world government. The World Economic Forum has pushed for open borders. What you do is you will move around, instead of changing the countries and taking them by war under your control, you're just going to repopulate the people that you control to the different parts of the world. If you control the people, you control the societies, you control the countries, and then you'll eventually control the governments. And it's being successful. I used to live in, I haven't been back to Europe since 2018, 2019. I used to live in Frankfurt, Germany. I loved it. But every year I noticed it was starting to look more and more like downtown Los Angeles. I remember we used to go party in this district called Constable. And in this area, they had shops, but people would go down there, you would find weed and, different drugs, and then you go party. Now it's just a complete shithole. It's literally all foreigners. You don't see any native Germans, and everyone's literally just speaking either Turkish or Arabic. And it's weird. The Turkish that we have in Germany is the equivalent to Mexicans we have in the United States as far as the immigration due to proximity. However, it's now becoming apparent that this is a coordinated attack on the European Union. Trump literally has saved the United States from this. He has closed the border and they're deporting the millions that the World Economic Forum controls that they were sending into our country. They were subverting our system, subverting our electoral process, our governance. And now we're cleaning up the mess. The Europeans do not have the option. They don't have a Trump. The closest they had, for example, in Germany was the AfD, for the future of Deutschland, and seven were assassinated on the same day just in the last month. That's how serious they are about the World Economic Forum agenda. Just like they were when they assassinated the presidents of all those African nations in Haiti, it's the same thing. And we just had a recent assassination of Charlie Kirk in the United States, and they just had the Turkish president Erdogan. They made him stand outside of the UN. And in my opinion, it seemed like they were just hoping for someone to take a shot at him. Why else would you leave a man who's that controversial, exposed, outdoors with the security team, knowing that we have a history of armed psychopaths with guns that can take a shot at him in a heartbeat? Literally just had somebody take a shot at Trump. Two different people. Literally, we just lost one of our greatest, Charlie Kirk. And even if I don't agree with Erdogan, I would not want him to be exposed to extra danger. The NYPD literally told him he had to stand outside the UN. It's a complete shit show. That whole building should be shut down. The UN, it actually is a toothless tiger. It means nothing anymore. The United States is all that counts, and the World Economic Forum. The World Economic Forum has been fighting with Israel for control of the American arsenal, but now that Trump's back, both of them can go fuck themselves. We are taking control of our own politics, taking control of our own nation and our own future. America is not going to go the path of globalism. We will go the path of patriotism and nationalism. We are America first and Americans first. What the affairs of the world are only going to affect us when these other countries start to literally try to bring us into these wars that we have no chance of winning, like the one against the Russian Federation, which is why we've abstained from that. Trump has made some recent arguments, some recent comments lately, but he's back and forth on it. We're not sending any American troops to die in the Ukraine. That's out. I don't care what Trump says. It's not going to happen. But let's listen to what he had to say about the UN, this joke of a institution that means nothing anymore. And I love it. I remember 5 years ago, Trump came and brought down the fucking building and spit in these people's faces as he should. What they're trying to say now is Trump is aggressive and he's mean because he's telling them the fucking truth. The truth is aggressive and mean. Reality is your enemy. It's not Trump. It's reality that you have a problem with.
Wise, in a period of just 7 months, I have ended 7 unendable wars. They said they were unendable. You're never going to get them solved. Some were going for 31 years, 2 of them, 31, think of it, 31 years. One was 36 years. One was 28 years. I ended 7 wars. And in all cases, they were raging with countless thousands of people being killed. I ended 7 wars, dealt with the leaders of each and every one of these countries, and never even received a phone call from the United Nations offering to help in finalizing the deal. All I got from the United Nations was an escalator that on the way up stopped right in the middle. If the First Lady wasn't in great shape, she would have fallen, but she's in great shape. We're both in good shape. We both stood. And then a teleprompter that didn't work. These are the 2 things I got from the United Nations, a bad escalator and a bad teleprompter. What is the purpose of the United Nations? The UN has such tremendous potential. I've always said it. It has such tremendous, tremendous potential, but it's not even coming close to living up to that potential. For the most part, at least for now, all they seem to do is write a really strongly worded letter and then never follow that letter up. It's empty words, and empty words don't solve war. Many years ago, a very successful real estate developer in New York, known as Donald J. Trump, I bid on the renovation and rebuilding of this very United Nations complex. I remember it so well. I said at the time that I would do it for $500 million, rebuilding everything. It would be beautiful. I used to talk about, I'm going to give you marble floors. They're going to give you terrazzo. I'm going to give you the best of everything. You're going to have mahogany walls. They're going to give you plastic. But they decided to go in another direction, which was much more expensive at the time, and which actually produced a far inferior product. And I realized that they did not know what they were doing when it came to construction, and that their building concepts were so wrong, and the product that they were proposing to build was so bad and so costly. It was going to cost them a fortune. And I said, and wait till you see the overruns. Well, I turned out to be right. They had massive cost overruns and spent between $2 and $4 billion on the building and did not even get the marble floors that I promised them. You walk on terrazzo. Do you notice that? As far as I'm concerned, frankly, looking at the building and getting stuck on the escalator, they still haven't finished the job. They still haven't finished. That was years ago. Millions of people came through that southern border just a year ago. Millions and millions of people were pouring in, 25 million altogether over the 4 years of the incompetent Biden administration.
And now we actually, because of those millions of strangers coming across our borders, we have terror alerts where now they're saying that Al Qaeda, ISIS, all different types of terror groups are poised to start doing attacks where they can now acquire guns, or they can drive into crowds. They can do other attacks. I don't know. The issue is this. Once you come to the United States and you're here for about a year waiting to do a terrorist attack, yeah, this place isn't perfect, but you kind of like life a little bit more than you did in your home country. See, when you're back in some of these Middle Eastern countries, and there's not tons of sex isn't easy to get, so it's kind of depressing already. and it's not very fun. Once you get to the United States, life becomes interesting. And maybe you start thinking about, maybe my life is worth more than maybe I shouldn't just die doing something that's gonna be pretty much pointless in the end. Maybe I want to live. Maybe I do want to go to Vegas. Maybe I do want to go to Miami and maybe try to start a little pizza business, or maybe sell some halal, some halal shawarmas, or whatever. You might not want to suicide yourself in the United States after a while. And they've been here for a little bit. So, I mean, I believe there will be some attacks, but nothing we can't bounce back from. I mean, this is the United States. When we have a black population, which literally blows each other away, blows away others for fun. They make music about it. So death isn't really, it's not really scary to us. Terrorism isn't really a thing. We live next to terrorists who make rap music every single day. So we're not necessarily afraid of violence or death. That's kind of a part about being an American. I mean, these people, these illegals are over here screaming and yelling about being deported. Literally, you're going to live longer in your country than you will over here. You live adjacent to the black American population. One of them is going to try to rob and kill you anyway. You might as well just go back home. But I digress.
And now we have it stopped, totally stopped. In fact, they're not even coming anymore because they know they can't get through. But what took place is totally unacceptable. The UN is supposed to stop invasions, not create them and not finance them.
Have you not seen the invasion? You think Trump's lying? Have you seen the invasion? Have you seen Europe lately? This is a guy, Kurt Katz, and he's in Germany right now.
So if you guys get VIP skin, just click the link below.
Now, this is the financial district. This is actually Rotalik. This is actually not too far from where I used to live in Germany, right outside the financial district. This is where you see all the beautiful buildings. There's actually a UN headquarters in this part in Frankfurt, but this is during the daytime. Imagine what it looks like at night. This is in Germany. This is not even 30 days ago.
So this is where it begins, guys. So a lot of the people here openly taking drugs and smoking crack.
People are actually speaking English in Germany, and they're not even German. They're just literally like, that just shows you all these foreigners have been taken over. They want the whole world to look like in Back to the Future. Remember when Biff became president? That's how the whole world will look if we fall to globalism. That's how the world will look.
On the streets. Now, Frankfurt has had a drug epidemic since the 90s, or since the 70s, actually. I'm not specifically filming you. I was filming the streets.
And now you just happen to be made it about you now. You've made it about you now.
Have a great day.
Okay. We're going everywhere.
Yes.
Okay. Have a nice day. England.
Not important.
England, love. England.
Right. So
England.
Rule Britannia. So, as you can see, people do not like the camera because they are obviously up to no good, ashamed of themselves. A lot of them are consuming, smoking crack right on the streets, right? So it's not a safe environment. Would you guys feel safe if you had a daughter or your girlfriend or your wife? Would you let her walk around? Hello. We're filming. You tell me when you get out of here.
Don't worry. Fine.
Right. As you can see, we can't film.
Don't follow us then.
So
that's what it is, exactly.
they do not like the camera. As you
Now, this is in Germany, right? This is in fucking Germany, in Deutschland, in Frankfurt, and not too far from the Bahnhof district, Rotlik, Kanzlerwache. This is like not too far from where, and this used to be our party area. I have not seen any white Germans in these videos so far. Now, watch this. Let's go to Rome.
There she goes. This is where
Spostare, quanto tempo vuoi stare qua voi?
No, I have nothing.
Voi fumate pure.
Look at the people in Rome. It looks just like Frankfurt. There's graffiti, there are blacks, they're laying out on the streets. There's no, what was the purpose of immigrating to Rome to just lay on the streets, beg for food, and get high? Why did you come to this country? What was the purpose? No one wants to be honest about what's actually happening. So this is Rome. This is just a snippet of Rome.
Where they're selling the drugs.
Graffiti, the element, everywhere. This is in Rome, home of the gladiators. Everyone wants to go to Rome from the United States. It's romantic. Is it fucking romantic? Is it romantic? This is Rome.
So you can saw there was dealers there on the corner.
Now, when I used to go to Rome, when I used to live in Europe, it wasn't this bad, but it was en route. And that's why, and then after the lockdown, when I seen them put foots on the necks and up the ass of all the Europeans, and because they're disarmed, there was nothing anyone could do, I swore I would never live in Europe anymore, and I changed my my dual citizenship plans to South America. I would never go back to Europe. Europe is gone. All these countries in Europe that the UN right now that Trump's speaking to, all these fuckers that are in this audience, they're all in recession and depressions. These countries are gone. These leaders that they elected were put in power by the World Economic Forum to purposely fold these countries. The International Monetary Fund, the IMF, these are all controlled now by the World Economic Forum, no longer by Israel. So they have a different agenda. So this is Rome. But that's not just Rome. Let's go to Belgium.
Very hostile looking people. Why are you so rude, man? Why are you so rude? Because I can't film what I want to, yeah. Well, we're crazy too. No. I mean, so there's characters like this hanging around here, intimidating people. I'm just walking, filming the streets. There's a problem with me filming.
Does anybody else notice a slight pattern? Or is it just me? Am I the only one noticing a pattern here? A pattern. Now, this is in Belgium. Let's go to Brussels.
Yeah, it's a dodgy area.
This is a dodgy area?
In 1 week, there will be 4 or 5 gunfights in this area.
Over here?
Yes.
Hello. Where are you guys from? As you can see, there's lots of dodgy people around.
From Belgium.
Belgium?
And you?
I'm from Germany.
Oh. Yes, I don't know what it is.
Okay, well then
Yes.
come and talk to me.
Yes. Yeah.
I don't have to ask your permission. Don't stay to have a big go. Yeah. Barber stores, barber shops, kebab shops, everything but Belgian waffles.
There's no Belgian nor French cuisine here.
That's in Belgium. That's Belgium. Let's see here. Let's go to Paris, where I used to live, not too far from this area. Let's go.
Here we go.
In the countries.
I wasn't. I'm filming. It's a public space, and this is a public demonstration.
Stop it.
You can't tell us.
Stop it.
We're filming the demonstration, yeah?
Stop it.
No camera! No camera! No camera!
Go away.
No filmer! No filmer!
She's hungry. Snickers, bro.
She
She's a
needs,
fucking
to, she
Snickers.
needs to carry on with her hunger strike.
Meal.
No camera! No camera! No.
Stop filming.
No!
Dégage.
Here comes
Dégage.
the communists, the authoritarian. Don't question the authoritarian state on your.
No,
Stay back.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Stop filming.
Or what?
Or just go back in your tent. Have you been eating, lady? You need a sandwich.
I need the Snickers.
You need a Snickers bar. You need a Snickers bar.
Hey, stop
Don't
it.
push me.
Stop it.
Hey, he pushed me first.
You're from police.
He pushed me first.
You're working
He
with
pushed
the
me
police.
first.
You're working with the police.
They're obviously not used to men that are strong who fight back and kick ass. They will get used to it. Once again, they will get used to it once it comes.
He pushed me first.
You're working with the
We're not
police.
working with the police. They want a communist state in France.
I know. They want to fuck everything.
brothers, they're not.
They are fucking everything
They are
in
fucking
France.
everything,
They
that's
are
right.
fucking everything.
And they're very aggressive people as well. As soon as you start to question them, they get violent.
I know.
Apparently, these are Bolshevik people in Paris, communists in Paris right now. So that's why when Trump said these countries, these places are going to hell, this is Spain.
No, whoa, whoa, whoa.
Graffiti, drugs, crime. So we've already taken a tour into 7 different countries. These are not just highlights of the worst areas. These are the element that's being imported on purpose. These places did not look like this 6 years ago. This is all since the World Economic Forum takeover that began with the lockdowns of 2020. This is what they don't. This is why they didn't want Trump to return to reverse this. Now, Trump's only the president of the United States. That's why the rest of these countries are fucked. The problem is what happens when Trump's no longer our president. And that's when we got to start looking ahead to ask, this is what, if you ask Black America what they want for this country, this is what they want: crime, drugs. They want everything to be free. They want the country to fold because they think they want revenge for slavery. It's like the movie Vanilla Sky when Cameron Diaz crashes the car to hurt Tom Cruise, but she's still in it. The gay community, the Black community, they don't feel accepted. They want hugs and loved from white conservatives and white Christians. And they feel left out in the cold in a way like children. So that's why, to get your attention, they say all types of things and they want you to love them. But when they're not getting this love, they do want to see these countries crash. This is what's happening in Europe. And this is why they don't show you a lot of what's going on in Europe on television in America. They don't want you to know your future that you would have if the America First movement, the MAGA movement, fails.
Buenos dias, and welcome to one of the most touristic cities on earth, and also one of the most crime-ridden in all of Europe. Bienvenidos a Barcelona. So, we're about to go and meet up with the vigilante pickpocket hunters. We're going to hit the metro, and then we're going to meet up with another friend of mine. We're going to go to the worst, most dangerous part of town. Because it's so damn hot. It must be about 40 degrees in here. It's like a damn sauna. No airflow, no AC, no fans, nothing. Absolutely ridiculous. And the people suffer. I saw a lady today passed out. She got heat stroke from the heat. The people here are dying from the heat, man. Look at this, everybody's suffering from the heat. This is mental. In a first world country like Spain, they don't even have AC. What's up, man? Nice to meet you, bro. Awesome. How hot is it from 1 to 10?
So hot.
It's ridiculous. In a first world country, they don't even have AC. Crazy, right? Es carterista! Es carterista! What are you doing? Huh? Sí. Mira tu cosa.
Every country is going to have its problems, but we should all be shocked at how fast the rest of the world is falling around us. These are just a glimpse. These are just, a glimpse into some of these.
This is sketchy. Sorry? He's telling me to stop filming. So, immediately told to stop filming. And does this feel like Paris? Look at this place, guys. He just offered me on camera. So he just incriminated himself.
It's not incriminating if there's no police that can enforce laws anymore, because in most of these countries, they're changing it where laws and law enforcement is being deemed as racist and should be done away with. The same rhetoric that magically Brandon Johnson is using in Chicago today. That's why Trump fighting against these people in America is so important. That's why he must continue. That's why we must protect him at all costs. Charlie Kirk was also continuing the save movement and covering ground that a president will miss, because he was closer to the people. That's why we must appreciate Charlie Kirk for his sacrifice.
In the United States, we reject the idea that mass numbers of people from foreign lands can be permitted to travel halfway around the world, trample our borders, violate our sovereignty, cause unmitigated crime, and deplete our social safety net. We have reasserted that America belongs to the American people, and I encourage all countries to take their own stand in defense of their citizens as well. You have to do that because I see it. I'm not mentioning names. I see it, and I can call every single one of them out. You're destroying your countries. They're being destroyed. Europe is in serious trouble. They've been
And you just saw the clips that I shared. Europe is beyond trouble. Europe is boiling, and the frog is sitting there saying everything is fine.
invaded by a force of illegal aliens like nobody's ever seen before. Illegal aliens are pouring into Europe. Nobody is ever, and nobody's doing anything to change it, to get them out. It's not sustainable. And because they choose to be politically correct, they're doing just absolutely nothing about it. I look at London, where you have a terrible mayor, terrible, terrible mayor. And it's been so changed, so changed. Now they want to go to Sharia law.
This is not a podcaster making this up and telling you this. This is the president of the free world. This is Donald J. Trump. He's literally telling you what the plans are. He has committees of people that go around and they speak to the people in these other countries. They bring it back to the president. They report. They do an analysis of what's happening. This is all really happening, whether you're in denial about it or not, whether you know it or not. This is what's going on.
But you're in a different country. You can't do that. Both the immigration and their suicidal energy ideas will be the death of Western Europe if something is not done immediately. This cannot be sustained.
He's also referring to how in Germany, we turned off all of our nuclear reactors. We closed all our coal clinics, and we're no longer importing cheap energy from Russia. Therefore, we can no longer do manufacturing. There will be no more Rolls-Royce engines, no more BMW. There will be no more Mercedes engines. The German engineering is over. That's why the entire country is falling apart into a recession. People are evacuating. However, the only glimpse of hope is the United States. We will have to replace the manufacturing that was once done in these great cities of Europe. The Russians will also pick up the slack. That's why it is in our best interest to become allies with Russia. The rest of these countries want to fold and fall to the World Economic Forum and liberalism. Go for it. Our countries will stand strong because you have people like myself that are here that will make sure it does. Everyone cannot talk. Everyone cannot get in front of crowds and speak to millions of people with confidence and actually have a sense that they know what they're talking about. People shy away from it. That's why Charlie Kirk was such a rare and important man, and that's why we will remember him always, because he had a gift. Others of us that are in the population that can even hope to be even 1% of that, we'll have to do our parts to continue if we want to preserve a future for our children to live in tomorrow. And let's not say preserve, let's say conserve.
Another UN official stated in 1989 that within a decade, entire nations could be wiped off the map by global warming. Not happening. You know, it used to be global cooling. If you look back years ago in the 1920s and the 1930s, they said, global cooling will kill the world. We have to do something. Then they said global warming will kill the world. But then it started getting cooler. So now they could just call it climate change because
Trump is absolutely correct. Climate change is a scam. Global cooling, global warming, anything to scare you into paying and giving up your sovereignty and paying more money to these shadow institutions that can do nothing. You can't influence the weather of the planet. Now, is cloud seeding real? Absolutely. Have they flooded cities by seeding clouds and overdoing it? Yes. Have they caused massive catastrophes? Yes. But did they change the overall Earth's climate permanently? No. God himself is the only one in control of that. But they want you to think that man can, so that's why they do everything they can to discredit God any chance they get. It is a scam. Our sea levels have not risen 1 inch, which is why the globalists are keep buying beachfront property at your expense. Carbon credits will never be a thing. Bill Gates wanted to be in control over how far you can travel. That's not going to happen. He wanted to block out the sun so that they could get the same results they got in California, which is because you have to remove the sun and replace with artificial light for whatever's in those things that they took for it to work. And by work, for it to give you issues and kill you, they need to block out the sun. That's California was a test. They blocked it out for a year, 2022 till the end of 2023. And the results were astounding. But now you have to repeat the results on a grander scale, but states like Tennessee, Texas, Florida, they banned cloud seeding. So you're not going to be able to block out the sun over these massive populations that they want to remove. So what they're going to say, well, we're going to block out the entire sun. The truth is, they don't tell you about how the sun works or where the sun is. It's not where you think it is. And it doesn't work the way they tell you it does in books from 100 years ago. So they're not going to be able to do that either. They wanted to put a level of aluminums to reflect sunlight in the atmosphere. But what goes up must come down. You're also going to have to poison yourself to do it. And there's really no way of getting around it. You would have to be a nihilist that just wants to basically be suicidal to go after any of these, to go further with any of these endeavors, which we're not going to allow either.
Because that way they can't miss. It's climate change. Because if it goes higher or lower, whatever the hell happens, there's climate change. It's the greatest con job ever perpetrated on the world, in my opinion. Climate change, no matter what happens, you're involved in that. No more global warming, no more global cooling. All of these predictions made by the United Nations and many others, often for bad reasons, were wrong. They were made by stupid people that have cost their countries fortunes and given those same countries no chance for success. If you don't get away from this green scam, your country is going to fail.
European leaders have been put on notice by Donald Trump after the US president gave a savage speech at the UN in New York City. The savage speech was wide-ranging, covering key topics from migration to climate change in a targeted warning to European nations to change their behavior quickly or face destruction.
You have to end it now. Let's see, I can tell you.
And again, the problem with trying to change the nations is you're going to need leaders. The leaders that the people were going to vote in that could have actually made these changes, they're being assassinated in these countries. The AfD, 7 of its members that were running for leadership in Germany were all assassinated in a month. And you barely heard a bleep about it on the news. 7. I'm actually going to do a story about it, being that I lived in Germany. The AfD was the only hope that we had for Germany. And now the party's in disarray. People are afraid because we're being assassinated. They were the closest you could get to an America First movement. Other nations, there is nothing even close. Javier Milei is all the way in Argentina. So the leaders are spread out, and they're now using murder to bring people to their knees. We're so glad we have Trump. We're living in history right now. These are the greatest years because we still have Trump.
Yeah. I'm really good at this stuff. Your countries are going to hell. In America, we've taken bold action to swiftly shut down uncontrolled migration.
He then slammed the UN for their lack of support.
I ended 7 wars, dealt with the leaders of each and every one of these countries, and never even received a phone call from the United Nations offering to help in finalizing the deal.
And that's the thing. You would have thought the United Nations would have been the body in charge of stopping these wars. But instead, Trump's doing the heavy lifting along with the United States. For one thing, we have the military power. We have the weapons. These other countries have nothing. No one's going to listen to them, but also they're also taken over and controlled by the World Economic Forum. So it's kind of pointless and it's fruitless because that is what they want for these other countries. So these countries can't come out and contradict the World Economic Forum because they are the World Economic Forum now. These countries no longer exist. Their sovereignty is gone. Do you not believe me? Let's look it up. Klaus Schwab cabinet penetrate. Let's show what happened to these countries and how they lost their sovereignty to the World Economic Forum and when, if you think I'm making this up.
Vladimir Putin and so on, they all have been young global leaders of the World Economic Forum. But what we are very proud of now is the young generation, like Prime Minister Trudeau, President of Argentina, and so on, so that we penetrate the cabinets. So yesterday I was on a...
We penetrate the cabinets. The World Economic Forum penetrates the cabinets of these countries. Do you understand what that means?
At a reception for Prime Minister Trudeau, and I know that half of this cabinet, or even more, half of this cabinet, are actually young global leaders of the World Economic Forum.
And that's true in Argentina too. Wow.
Yeah.
They've penetrated the cabinets, and now more than half are for the agenda of the World Economic Forum. I don't understand if people knows what that means.
We are very proud of now the young generation, like Prime Minister Trudeau, President of Argentina, and so on, so that we penetrate the cabinets. So yesterday I was on a
Do you understand what it means to penetrate the cabinet of countries? So you are a World Economic Forum. You are not elected. You are not of the people. You are just a independent organization whose total creation was something that probably should have never happened. Klaus Schwab's father was a former SS member, and he is a gay man who's a cross-dresser himself. So is his second in command, a man by the name of Yuval Noah Harari, the gay man. So when you start looking at the world, who runs the World Economic Forum? The World Economic Forum is all ran by gay men. Who is the arch nemesis of a gay man? A straight white man. 60 years ago, when Klaus Schwab was being caught diddling kids, there would be a straight white man in a uniform that would show up to arrest him. That's where the term going into the closet came from, because they would have to hide from law enforcement in closets. That was Klaus Schwab. His revenge is to now make everything that was illegal when he was a young man legal. That's why there is such a heavy push for the gay and trans agenda. He is taking his revenge out on your children. Because you scared him into the closet, your sons and grandsons will also be gay like him. That's where this whole push is coming from. One thing about these gay men, they do not have children. The World Economic Forum pushes a depopulation agenda. It all comes down to less people, one way or the other. If the injections of 2021 do not kill you, they will sterilize you. Our birth rates are declining. We are going into a birth recession. We have a population collapse, not overpopulation. It's the exact opposite. Technically, the entire world could fit, of 8 billion people plus, could fit into the state of Texas, and it would just be as dense as the city of New York. We have plenty of room. There are plenty of resources. God made sure of that. The trick is to convince you that they're finite. That way you can show that there's scarcity, and then you can increase the value of something that is infinite, which is a good business model, but it's just not fair to everyone. But life isn't fair. These countries that Trump is speaking to, their cabinets have been penetrated long ago. So they have no choice but to follow the orders of the World Economic Forum, which is why I keep bringing them up.
All I got from the United Nations was an escalator that on the way up stopped right in the middle. If the First Lady wasn't in great shape, she would have fallen. But she's in great shape. We're both in good shape. We both stood. And then a teleprompter that didn't work. These are the two things I got from the United Nations: a bad escalator and a bad teleprompter. Thank you very much.
And the president went to town to the UN and Europe for their climate change obsession, calling it a con job.
Global warming, not happening. You know, it used to be global cooling. If you look back years ago in the 1920s and the 1930s, they said global cooling will kill the world.
You know, it's crazy how many people I know personally that used to believe this until I told them otherwise. And they only believed it because a television told them it was real. They never actually went outside and noticed that, hey, we're in Houston, Texas, but it's snowing in July. They've never seen anything like that. But they had the nerve to mention to me global warming, climate change, global cool. Shut the fuck up. Who do you think you are? That you think you have enough power because you're polluting and littering that you can control the Earth's weather with your consumption. There are whole countries that pollute metric tons of the billions per day, like India and China, that are nowhere involved in any of these UN meetings. And you think your little plastic wrapper is going to turn the corner of changing the Earth's climate? Get the fuck. You don't even know where you live. You have no idea how this system works. Most people don't. That's life. But that's why they want you dumb and ignorant. I don't know if you met anybody in their 20s nowadays, but they're not the sharpest tools in the shed, but that's also by design. That's why they don't understand what Trump is saying and they reject him because they don't know any better. But don't forget, even if they don't know any better, we still have to live here. We have to worry about ourselves. We can't be too worried about what ignorant people who don't have any idea what's happening, what they think. Because literally, they'll walk you into a burning building. These are all the same people that would literally walk into a slaughter. These are the same people that in the 70s or in the 80s would have put on Nike Cortez, drank Kool-Aid, and watched a comet fly above them that they think they were going to be on an alien spaceship. You cannot listen to these people. They did not make the comet, so now they're just down here on Earth creating havoc. Do not listen to them. Trust the president. He's the only one that actually doesn't have a financial incentive to try to control you.
We have to do something. Then they said global warming will kill the world, but then it started getting cooler, so now they could just call it climate change because
Real disgrace took place at the United Nations yesterday. Not one, not two, but three very sinister events. First, the escalator going up to the main speaking floor came to a screeching halt. It stopped on a dime. It's amazing that Melania and I didn't fall forward onto the sharp edges of these steel steps face first. It was only that we were each holding the handrail tightly or it would have been a disaster. This was absolutely sabotage, as noted by a days earlier post in the London Times that said UN workers joked about turning off an escalator. The people that did it should be arrested. The UN...
Wow. So before this even happened, black and gay black army terrorists who work for the UN joked about doing this to Trump. And then they did it. I keep telling people, this whole Charlie Kirk thing exposed a lot of black army operatives that are inside of our institutions, even some that worked for the Secret Service. Had they not been caught because of what happened to Kirk, they would have been the ones to take a shot at Trump or at other leaders in the future. We have to weed these people out. They don't want you profiling. Oh, this person's black. Oh, this person's gay. This person's trans. You're going to have to. The societal norms that we lived by, created from the 1964 Civil Rights Act and other things that they put in place to kind of curb racism or whatever they call themselves doing, it's a trap just for you to let your guard down and let people close to you who shouldn't be there get there. You're going to have to profile if you want to stay alive going forward. What if they would have put something under the UN escalator? They knew when to stop it right on a dime when Trump was getting on. They knew when to stop it. That's huge. That means even our Secret Service wasn't in there to check the mechanics to make sure that it was working properly. That's scary. It should scare us all.
Denied Trump's claim, with a spokesperson saying a subsequent investigation, including a readout of the machine's central processing unit, indicated that the escalator had stopped after a built-in safety mechanism on the comm step was triggered at the top of the escalator.
just magically only when Trump was about to go up it. I don't believe it. It's bullshit. What they just did right now at the UN was they were testing Trump's security. Remember, he's only been president 6-7 months. They're testing to see how thorough his security detail is. Should he have even been on that escalator? Should he have been on the elevator? Matter of fact, now that we know that he walked up the escalator and he wasn't turned around and taken up another route, and he would have kept going, they could have sabotaged that escalator or put something on it to detonate. Now they know for the next time what the security procedure is. They're testing the weaknesses around Trump.
And while some European leaders were taken aback by the blunt speech, Polish President Karol Nawrocki agreed with Trump's warning for Europe.
Ladies and gentlemen, as Polish people, we are concerned about the negative impact of global crises. But as President of Poland, I want to say openly here in front of this international community that we are also deeply concerned and we are aware of the mistakes made by our Western partners, friends, and neighbors. Yes, I agree with President Donald Trump that in recent years, and that is something that we were warning against as Poles, and this was the signal sent also by Central European countries, Eastern European countries. Europe is deep in ideological madness. This led to bad decisions on migration. This led to green craziness, green madness, the Green Deal, which is destroying economic markets and also agricultural markets. Yes, the very same Europe.
Outspoken commentator Douglas Murray agreed, supporting Trump's blunt message to the UN.
Joining me now is the author of international bestsellers, including his latest on democracies and death cults. Douglas Murray, I'm interested in your thoughts on the significance of Charlie Kirk's legacy to American political life and the wider culture. But let's start with the UN, and President Donald Trump addressed the United Nations General Assembly earlier today, and he criticised European allies over everything from green energy obsessions to immigration policies. And the UN itself didn't escape scrutiny either.
What is the purpose of the United Nations? The UN has such tremendous potential. It's empty words, and empty words don't solve war. The only thing that solves war and wars is action.
Douglas, have you also wondered what is the point of the UN?
Well, many people have wondered about that for many decades now. It's some 40 years ago or so since American ambassadors have said very similar things. The problem for the UN has always been that the number of democracies in the world show up. They tend to get castigated by the non-democracies in the world. The free countries get lambasted by unfree countries, and everyone has to pretend that say, an elected leader in a democracy is on an even pegging with some thuggish dictator from somewhere else in the world. And of course, that's a sort of nicety. Unfortunately, a lot of people fall into the trap of believing that as a result, the UN is what it says it is and is the sort of ultimate court of the world. And, while some things can be hashed out there, I have always thought that it is important that democratically elected leaders of countries like the US do things like Trump did today and call out the UN's failings. Otherwise, it's just a sort of talking shop for demagogues and dictators to launder their reputations in New York City.
Now, the president had this.
I absolutely agree. That's it. They're laundering their reputations in New York City, pretending that a dictator and a duly elected president are on the even footing, and they both should have the same type of influence and demand a certain type of respect and platform. It just doesn't make any sense. Again, these countries have already fallen to the World Economic Forum. The only person that might as well be up there speaking besides Trump is Klaus Schwab himself. The rest of it is just basically lip service. Action is what it's going to take to stop the wars. but there have been a war every year since the inception of the UN. The only thing the UN, well, for the most part, has gotten right is a lot of them are now recognizing Palestine as a state, and they don't have full membership, but a lot of Western countries, like the UK, Canada, Australia, they're big players. And I think it was like 150 out of 190 have already recognized Palestine. The Spain is sending in flotillas. So remember, I said it's the World Economic Forum versus Israel, the Zionists of Israel, for control of the American arsenal. The World Economic Forum is in control of all these European nations. Now they can send in their military to Palestine to kind of provoke and to try to get a conflict with Israel. The Israeli regime, Netanyahu, is not going to survive. But I'll be honest, even though I'm anti-Zionism, what happens when Israel falls? I don't know if that's a good thing because, I don't like the Zionists, or is that a bad thing because it plays into the greater agenda of the World Economic Forum? It's really hard to choose which side to cheer for in regards to this.
To say about mass migration, including illegal immigration and economic migrants seeking asylum.
Proud nations must be allowed to protect their communities and prevent their societies from being overwhelmed by people they have never seen before, with different customs, religions, with different everything. Where migrants have violated laws, lodged false asylum claims, or claimed refugee status.
Douglas?
Trump's absolutely right. All cultures are not meant to coexist with one another. All societies and all people are not meant to coexist. Again, look at the United States. You have the Black community and Black culture have been completely antithetical to American culture. They will never be able to meld together. They will never be able to coexist. They exist in different societies under one nation, and it's not getting any better. It's not changing. All cultures are not meant to coexist. And if you want to bring in, so what you're seeing in the United States, they're now having the same issue all over Europe because you're bringing in Middle Eastern culture, Arabic, Islam, Sharia, you're bringing the Africans into Europe, and those cultures do not mix. They never have and they never will. It's just going to create destruction, and it creates gaps in security, which is what you're seeing happen there. We're having the same problems in the United States with our illegal immigration problem. We're already working on it. The American Black problem, that's the only one that technically we've been able to potentially vaccinate our way out of, so to speak.
He's talking about essentially what you wrote about so many years ago, the strange death of Europe.
Yes, a book which is, of course, not just about Europe, but about America, Canada, Australia, all the Western liberal democracies, all of which have had more than a generation of insane immigration policies, and which have just not been able to wrestle their way out of the problem that generations, actually, of politicians have got us into, of all political parties. What Trump said is completely true, and of course will go down like a cup of cold sick with almost all of his allies, because governments like those in Australia and Britain and so on do this thing of like talking endlessly about our openness and our diversity and so on. And Trump made one of the observations that, yes, I mean, I've made for many years, which is why is it only the Western democracies that have to undergo this? Why is it that we're not allowed to defend our own borders? Why are we not allowed to have our own customs and culture?
What he's saying is China can defend its borders. China's a closed country. If someone from China comes to the United States, right, and they want to buy property, if their lender sends a letter to their bank requesting their financial documents, if their bank in China sends those documents to the lender in the United States, that's treason. It's not allowed. It's a closed society. They don't take in immigrants. They don't have an open border. But yet you're expected to take in their people, 600,000 of their students, and God knows how many other people from other parts of the world. But they do not do the same for us, which is because they're Eastern. Russia doesn't do the same, neither does India. These larger Eastern nations, these Eastern bloc nations, they do not take in the refugees, actually, or the immigrants. Neither does Poland. Neither does Hungary. They've said no. But yet these Western democracies are expected to just take in everyone and absorb the cost. Why is that? No one's there questioning China about anything that they're questioning or pressuring the United States about. Why is that? That's all by design. Because they're partners with the World Economic Forum. They're not underneath them. They're not like the European nations are subverting. They are sub to the World Economic Forum. China's working with them, not underneath them. So it's a complete difference. And it's also a different level of respect. And that's why they haven't turned and tried to attack China with the same propaganda and shaming campaign that they've went after the United States, Canada, Australia, any white Western nations. They would never dare try China the same way.
But instead only define ourselves by our diversity and much more. And as you and I have said before, Rita, one of the historic things which Trump is showing, and if
China and India, nobody's ever asked them about their diversity. Keep that in mind.
he can pull it off with Homan and others, then it'll be really seismic, is to show that the illegal migration and the dissolution of Western cultures is not inevitable, that you can actually have an orderly migration policy, you can have borders, you can defend those borders, you can have laws, you can have asylum policies, but you can have none of those things if you've decided that basically anyone who walks into your country illegally has the right to stay and enjoy all the benefits of being in these countries, despite, in most cases, not having contributed anything to them and not being likely to contribute anything meaningful to them either. Yes, what he said was completely true, and doubtless, as I say, all of his allies will abhor his comments and think how incredibly backward President Trump is to voice such sentiments, whereas in actual fact, in the rotation that politics can often be, the rotating game that politics can often be, maybe Donald Trump is the voice from the future on all this.
The biggest problem Trump's going to have is that he's not talking to the people in charge. These people at the UN assembly, they're not in charge of their countries, not anymore. So he's not talking to the boss. He's speaking to the waiter. He's complaining to the busboy. He's not even speaking to the manager. So this is falling on deaf ears at this point. Like and subscribe, share the video. We'll be back with more topics shortly. I'll see you guys in a few minutes. Thank you for tuning in. And the right wing Rico, the single boyfriend. I'll be back shortly. Thank you.
I've been needing to find a new apartment, which has not been easy with credit as bad as mine. Luckily, I found cosigning.com. They connected me with a cosigner who helped me get my dream apartment for me and my dog. I just paid a small fee and was able to move in fast. Get the cosigner you need for the apartment you want. Check out cosigning.com today.